All right, what's up, guys? So I wanted to go ahead and make this video. So I was talking with a client yesterday about carbs, and so she just got back from vacation. Just to give a little backstory behind it, so she's done keto before, and that worked very well with her as far as like macro restriction, which is also portion control as well, which is calorie restriction. So it helped her lose weight, right? She did great. She still had carbohydrates here and there, but she limited it, right? And so she was able to drop a ton of weight. And she just got back from a 2 week vacation. And after the vacation, she maintained weight. So the reason why I'm saying this, the reason why it matters and what we're about to talk about today about carbs is she had carbohydrates out of the country every day in a high abundance of them. But she was also walking daily, and those sources of carbohydrates are created differently than a lot of stuff that's created here in the States. And so she came back and she didn't gain weight, she maintained weight. But someone might say, well, I cut carbs and I lost weight. Why didn't I gain the weight back? So there's a couple different reasons why, and that's what I kind of wanted to, make this video and explain it to her, because she did watch some of my other nutrition videos, and she told me it was good information, but it's a lot of information. So I wanted to make a video just for carbohydrates, just like made a video just for protein not too long ago. So this one's just carbohydrates and why we shouldn't be afraid of them. Uh, we want to learn what their function is. What do they actually do? What are their benefits? What are their uses? And then as far as like how much, how does that work? Can we just eat a ton? I heard that this isn't good. I heard it's bad if you want to lose weight. There's been tons of diet fads over the years. And so if we learn what their basic function is, we can see how we can integrate it in our diet, not be afraid of it, and actually use it to improve results. So first thing is I'm going to look at my notes because I can ramble. So I want to make sure I hit the bullet points. So what carbs are and their function. Let's start there. So carbohydrates are, I'm going to say carbs, but it's carbohydrates. They're your body's first source to use for energy. It's the easiest source of energy. So our body prefers to use carbohydrates for energy. Now, especially for things like workout, strength training, brain function, recovery, and also things like HIIT training as well. So as far as how much carbohydrates a person needs is going to depend on their carbohydrate storage. So someone that has a small amount of muscle mass and does not do any type of intense training, if it's strength training, sprinting, sports, anything powerful and athletic that requires a lot of muscle activity in a short amount of time, like lifting weights, those people will not be able to store as much carbohydrates, which is also glycogen in the muscle. The people that strength train more and do those type of activities, their body uses more carbohydrates and it can store it more effectively. So I like to use like a gas tank size. So for example, the more you strength train and do those intense activities, or the more active you are, the more your body needs and can use carbohydrates. The person that doesn't do it as much or as frequently or that type of activity, they're going to have a smaller gas tank. So the reason why that matters is we can't just consume an infinite amount of carbohydrates and think that, hey, well, you said it was used for energy. Why don't I have energy all the time? So by over consuming carbohydrates, our body uses what it can store and what it's using at that current moment. Everything else is what's called, it's a spillover. So think of it like a gas tank. You pour too much, so it started leaking out, spilling over. And so those carbohydrates get converted into body fat, stored energy, right? So the more active you are, the more that you get your workouts in, making sure you're not skipping those strength training sessions, it'll allow you to be able to use carbohydrates more effectively. I eat carbohydrates almost every day. I'll kind of talk a little bit later for like what I eat, but why I eat that way. Okay. The next bullet point I wanted to go over is it's not carbohydrates and carbs are not the reason for weight gain or fat gain. overconsumption of calories is the reason for weight gain. So, like I told a client, you can one day eat 1,500 calories of butter, which is fat. The next day eat 1,500 calories of Skittles of sugar, or then the next day eat 1,500 calories of chicken breast. Your body's going to, if you're in a deficit, you will lose weight. It doesn't matter what kind of food it is. If you're in a surplus, meaning over consuming, you will gain weight. So you can still gain weight by eating healthy foods if it's the total calorie intake is higher than what your body's using in that given day. And it changes day to day. So an easy way to kind of think about it is the days that you're more active, you can have more carbohydrates and starches and things like that. On the days you're not as active, those can be lighter days. So some people call it like carb cycling, but you can choose like, hey, I'm going to do a lot of activity today. My body is going to need it anyways. So I can have, a little more than normal, or I'm not going to do as much. You can kind of pull away. So the reason why carbs get the bad rap is people think when they think of carbs, they think of like French fries, or they think of pastas, Italian restaurants. They think of also like sweets, desserts, ice cream, things like that. So although those things do have a lot of carbohydrates, the reason why those aren't are weight gaining options is because they're high calorie, because the fat content, how much fat it has in the food, is very high. And so from the macronutrient video I created, fat has more than 2 times the calorie count than protein and carbohydrates. So when we have a high fat diet, it's just a lot easier for the person to gain weight. And so for y'all watching the video, this is for clients. Most of y'all's goal is to reduce body fat. So we do want to be mindful of that, that fat intake, and not saying that carbs are bad. Fatty foods are bad. So like the French fries, it's because it's fried. That's what makes it, a higher calorie food. But when we look at other carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates. So if carbs were bad, that's like saying eating broccoli is bad, or that's like saying eating berries are bad, right? So it doesn't make sense. So you can have those foods, and it's actually highly encouraged to have those foods. Those foods are packed with vitamins and minerals, fiber. So we want to think more of like oats, potatoes, rice, quinoa, corn tortillas, whole grain breads, etc. And those are, like I said, nutrient dense foods. It's a lot easier to get full on potatoes than it is French fries, right? They're both coming from a potato source. One's whole potato, the other one's potatoes plus the fried part, right? So all the additional oils and fats. So just as a closing message, carbs are not the enemy. They just need to be matched to your activity level and the amount of muscle mass and how frequently you strength train. That's going to be the biggest thing. So more frequently you can strength train, the better. It allows your body to use carbohydrates more efficiently. And if you're moving more, you can have more. If you're moving less, you'll just reduce it from there. I will be sending out a handout with this video as well, just with some bullet points. If you don't want to watch the video again, you just kind of want to look at the bullet points, I'll have that sent over right after you check out this video. Hope this video was helpful, guys. Y'all have a good one, all right?